Is it not true? Have you not been told from the scriptures that you are a child of God and that you really have nothing to prove? Your existence here is proof that you should be here. And the proving that you're worthy is just a legacy of some bad mental thought that you've had. Perhaps the best thing you could do is drop the thought, settle in, and live each day as though it was a gift, as though you were just there to be happy, and your gift to the world was to be happy, rather than to be busy. Beautiful day. It's great to be here. It is Sunday, which is the Christian version of the Sabbath, and we'll be talking about the Sabbath. As many of you know, the Sabbath was commanded in the Old Testament in the Ten Commandments. It's one of the keep the Sabbath and keep it holy. And they had lots of restrictions about what you could do on the Sabbath, but you could always come to church, and it's still true. So thank you for being here. The origin of the Sabbath is debated, whether it originated strictly with the Jews or it was more common in the Middle East in ancient times. But the Jews have actually the ones who brought it to us in modern times, or if you consider the last 2,000 or 3,000 years, modern times. Christians adopted it. They shifted it from Saturday to Sunday because Jesus rose on the third day, which was Sunday, and not the third day of the week, but actually the second day after he died. It's actually not very obvious what. And then the Muslims also adopted it. So it has become, of the Abrahamic religions, it's become foundational for all of them. I was talking to a friend who had a Muslim friend who did the 5 prayers each day. She had a pretty stressful job as a social worker, and they were both driving to visit somebody who was having a difficult time, which was going to then be followed by a difficult time in court, et cetera, et cetera. And on her way there, she stopped the car and sat in the car and did her prayers while they were on the side of the road. Pretty fantastic. I think this is a beautiful practice to do. I don't do it, I must say. I'm not real proud of my keeping of the Sabbath. I seem like I work every Sabbath. You know, it's really. But since the Jews are so good at it and have been really made it part of such a foundational part of their religion, they have often refused to, or been told to not work on that time, to not do anything that could not be put off or done some other time. And I just want to tell you, here's a story that exemplifies that. A rabbi, a Christian priest, and a mullah are talking about their miracles and their experiences with them. The Christian priest starts, "I was in the middle of a field, and all of a sudden there was a storm. The sky started pounding, and I was really afraid that lightning bolt would hit me. But then I remembered that I put my faith in God, and I prayed to Him. In a flash, there was rain around me, but the sky above was clear." The mullah continues, "I was in the desert, and my car died. I had no idea how to get back to town, but I remembered that God provides, and I prayed to Him, and in a flash, there was scorching heat all around me, but there was cool air above my head." And the rabbi thinks for a bit and says, "Guys, I have you all beat. On the Sabbath, I went through town, and in front of a hotel, I saw a drop purse spilling over with money, and I wanted to pick it up, but then I remembered it was the Sabbath, and I would break the rest. So I prayed to God, and then I saw it. There was Sabbath all around me, but over my head was Tuesday." Many people believe that the Sabbath was found it in the Old Testament because God worked 6 days and then on the seventh day he rested, and therefore we should do the same. But there are many health benefits for doing that. As you know, most of us are fairly busy. I think for a long time, I think it might be fading now, but if you wanted to say you were a good person, you always started with, I've been very busy, right? Which reminds me of a terrible joke, if y'all will forgive me. A comedian once said this, he said, Europeans have done a lot to destroy the environment. Especially in America, you can see it very clearly. They've paved over paradise and put up parking lots. They have drilled for oil and spilled it. They have done all this stuff. They have actually, and on top of that, they've enslaved people. They killed the natives that were here, and they put large buildings right over sacred sites. They built cities that block out the sun, factories that spew toxins and pour them into the river. They have really done a lot to this America and changed it over the last 400 years. And so the European Americans said, well, you got to admit, we've been busy. So busy is not necessarily beautiful. Busy is not necessarily better. And what the Sabbath reminds us of is that you're not a human doing, you're a human being. And the cause to be busy, I think, really is the cause to prove yourself worthy. How are you doing? Well, I've been busy. Okay, what else? So let's think about the Sabbath with some idea about what it might do for us. I think what it might do is break the habit of being busy, for one. It'll give you a chance to slow down enough that you might have a sense of rest. And if you practice rest, you might find that your mind is more steady and that you feel more comfortable, that the body is more relaxed. Over the last year or so, I've had a very difficult time having a full night's rest, full night's sleep. Lately, I have had that. I go, well, where did this young man come into my body? Where does that come from? All the fatigue that was so much like sludge in the system seems to be going away with each good night's rest. I think that's also true about us during the day, too. If all we do are busy, 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 if all we do, where are you going? Where on this tiny planet in the middle of the universe are you going with all of this? Is it not true? Have you not been told from the scriptures that you are a child of God and that you really have nothing to prove? Your existence here is proof that you should be here. And the proving that you're worthy is just a legacy of some bad mental thought that you've had. Perhaps the best thing you could do is drop the thought, settle in, and live each day as though it was a gift, as though you were just there to be happy, and your gift to the world was to be happy, rather than to be busy. But I believe one of the things that would happen is if you really gave the body rest, it would recover. If you really gave the mind rest, it would begin to see new possibilities. It would make it easier for you to meditate, I believe, if you were not always busy. You would have more time for friends. You could actually go about your world as though you were calm on the inside instead of anxious to get to the next thing. You know, everything we do takes something from us and gives something back. If we simplify our lives, the simplification itself is a reward. Have you ever gone in your closet and taken out those things you weren't using and given them to Goodwill or someplace, and they come back to your closet and you're so proud of yourself because you now have space in your closet? Have you ever gone to a friend's house when you had nothing to do, just to visit with them? Not because you had to get something done, but because communication with another human being is a form of self-care that you cannot perform actually by text, especially by a group text, and never by Zoom. So my thought is that if we will take the time to become human beings again, to be in relationship with ourselves and with others, we will live healthier lives, and we will have plenty of stuff accomplished by the time we finish our days. So the idea of being taking a Sabbath could be so contrary to the busyness that we feel, that we feel like the world is speeding up. The world is speeding up because we never put our brakes on. So let's take some time to be still, to be quiet, to be in nature, to meditate, and also to watch TikTok dancing. I really think, doesn't get much better than that. I also want to talk to you on a deeper level about the whole process of creation and busyness and doing, etc. And I want to tell you that unity is wanting to keep up with the other Christian religions, has had its own trinity. And the trinity that it had was called mind, idea, expression. And when I was in school, it was taught a certain way. I'm going to do it, I'm going to modify it to a way that I think more fits, more beautifully, what actually will be spiritually helpful. One of the things that I think unity has done over the course of the last 125 years has been to lay out certain principles, and it has 5 principles. The first one is God is, and the second one is I am. And then the rest are about how to manipulate and make a better life, manipulate reality and to make a better life. And what I would like to say is that, as I've said many times before, that when we focus on these 3 down here, I believe we're missing the real gem of spirituality, which is to focus on the first 2, that God is and I am. Now, when we turn our attention toward the unity idea of the Trinity, mind, idea, expression, originally it was about these 3 at the bottom. How do you create reality? I'll give you that, and then I'd like to give you my version. And the first version is that mind is the basis of all life. It's another word for God. The idea is the image that you have, the thing you want to create, the intention. Perhaps it's through visualization or affirmation, but the idea. And then the expression would be what it looks like when it's in physical form. The mind being God, the second one being your mind or your imagination and how you use it, and the third one is the expression. And since we're in the bottom 3 of those of the principles, we have been focused not much at all on the mind, very much on adjusting our own minds, saying the right affirmations, holding visualization and expectations and intentions over here, and then wanting to see the outcome over here. Now, if you're talking about a Sabbath would be leaving these 2 here, these 2, and becoming more acquainted with God, the creative consciousness that underlies and is everything. And what we get when we get here is that we get a chance to see that we can do something, that we're like the creators, right? And there is a great place for this, and I'm not going to be completely negative about it, because all of us do it in our jobs, with our families, everywhere we do in our life. We set an intention and we go about doing it, and it's quite satisfying to do that. But one of the things it doesn't give us it doesn't give us the new identity that provides the deep peace, love, and happiness that we long for. Now, you would have to admit that everyone here and everyone that we know really wants happiness. Now, they may say, what I really want is a better job and some more money. But if you were told them the better job and more money would bring you misery, they go, no, I really don't want that. Likewise, with a relationship, you say, I want a loving relationship, but it will bring you misery. No, well, I don't want that. Or, enlightenment will only bring you in deeper into suffering. I don't want that. What people really want is happiness, and the happiness they seek is thought to be caused by being able to do this well enough to get exactly what you want over there. Does that sound familiar? And part of the reason is, when we have done this, worked ourselves to where we can get the expression we want to see in the world, we typically, briefly, do experience happiness. And so we're conditioned to think, to get happiness, we have to do it this way. Now, is this making sense so far? All the while ignoring the first principle, one presence, one power, that makes all this machinery work. So we've been looking that way at all the machinery, working it, and becoming a human doing. Even in our spirituality, we become a human doing. We're doing. And though it is a elegant way of doing it, by comparison to heavy lifting or plotting or cheating or any of that stuff, a much more elegant way, the outcome is still the same. I am a human doing. I don't know much about the divine, and I don't know much about my own divinity, because I'm a doer over here. I'm working 7 days a week to make a few bright spots of happiness, when the source of happiness really is you're returning to the natural state before you needed anything. For the moment that you arrive, you go, I don't need to do anything. I am happy with the way things are. And I'm happy with the way things are until I'm not. Or you go over here where happiness resides. The source and the destination of all your striving is actually here. The happiness that comes when you have nothing to do and everything you have feels good to you. And you're happy because you're in as the presence of God. And what does God want or need? What is lacking? What could you be regretting? What could you be desiring? All that disappears in this place. And so the Sabbath, in my opinion, is not just sitting still and waiting, but returning to your true identity and to the identity that we call God, and knowing it as yourself. And that is where true peace comes from. Now, it may have made sense at one point if you just a workaholic would start with stopping the physical activity. But if you're not turning at some point toward the very consciousness that is making the universe and you, as Unity would say, there's only one presence, one power in my life. Now just think on that for a second. One presence in my life. Not all this. One presence in my life, God the good, omnipotent. Not only in my life, but in the universe. So even all that you see, all the manifest world, there's only one presence modulating as that. And though the clouds may be thick over here, and occasionally you see blue sky and you think you made the blue sky by getting what you wanted. Over here, before the clouds, the sky is always blue. So the object of the Sabbath, in deepest sense, is to return home, to come back to who you really are. And part of the practices of that we go over every once in a while, but you know, the practice we did today, very simple practice, and it should not be done as though you're trying to achieve something, never pushing, never striving, never giving it like, oh, I got to do this to be happy, but do this out of curiosity. Ask the question, who is having the experience? And don't let this answer the question. Ask and sink into the realization, the calm, as you quiet your mind. Don't even ask until your mind gets sort of quiet. Bring it down, and then you ask in the stillness, and what underlies the mind has a chance to be the answer, not give you an answer. You know, like in the mind, we want an answer, and we can bracket it and hold on to it and manipulate it and talk to it and name it and stuff like that, give it dimension, shape, and colors and da-da-da-da. It's all really excited to have an answer, blah, blah, blah. But over here, it doesn't move because it is the ever-present all that is. And it doesn't have much to say because it is all there is. Right? So I invite you to practice very gently with yourself. On occasion, when it feels like it. Not like a hard practice, not like you've got to work it really hard, but like, I wonder who is actually having the experience of being me. Who's having that experience? Right? I don't know if this is a good example, but imagine a hand puppet. Oddly enough, imagine a hand puppet, and the hand that is in the hand puppet is really what's animating it. And yet the voice that comes out and all the pointing and directing and whatever it does, hit Ollie on the head with a stick. That hand puppet can seem to be who you are. That piece of cloth and buttons, etc., can seem to be who you are. But the question is, who is animating your whole life? What is the hand that moves you? And the real awakening is not awakening like some distant thing. It's just stop thinking you're this cloth and recognize you've always been the hand of God. That is you. And so I'm asking you to honor the Sabbath, not just by sitting still on Saturday or Sunday, but by being the presence that you've always been. And to find that, there are several ways of going about it, but this one we explored today was simply this. Sit in meditation and calm your mind, perhaps with the breath focused in the heart. Calm your mind, and then just say, hey, by the way, who's having this experience anyway? Talk to the hand. Let us pray. Give this some thought, please. There is only one presence in my life, and that presence is the divine. There in your life, as your life, there is only one presence. and then expand it out to realize there is only one presence anywhere. The creator and the created. There is only one. Let us please be curious about this presence. Be curious about who you really are. No strain, but curiosity. Let this be the new and the persistent question that fills your idle time. Who am I really? And let it unfold and never push. And so it is. Amen. I hope you got something out of today's service. We intend to bring you things that will help you in your life become more of who you want to be, give you the freedom of forgiveness and the hope of expectancy that your life will unfold in a way that brings you joy, happiness, and is a contribution to the world. If you would like to contribute to this ministry, please go to unitytriangle.org, hit the donate button, and it will lead you into an easy way of doing that. We thank you for your attention and look forward to seeing you again here.